Some absolutely massive breaking transfer news. Mateo Kovacic is going to join Man City. Both clubs have agreed a fee of £25 million, including add-ons, which is going to raise to £30 million. What a deal. I'm so gassed with this piece of business. It's the smartest transfer I've seen in a very, very long time. We'll talk about the repercussions for Chelsea, obviously what it means for City's squad, and obviously we'll talk about the player as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Would really appreciate it. It's somewhere down here, somewhere. We have to talk about who is Mateo Kovacic. He's a midfielder that can control a football game. He's a midfielder that can pop up with a goal every now and then. He's a footballer with unbelievable quality. He's world class. It's as simple as that. He's a Champions League winning midfielder. He can play deep. He can play kind of a little bit higher up as a kind of centre midfielder. He's absolutely amazing. I absolutely love Kovacic. Every time we play Chelsea, he's the one player that always stands out for me. I'm not just saying that, honestly. He's the one player I would have taken from Chelsea if I had a choice. To get him for £30 million is unbelievable. Declan Rice for 100 mil. You're having a laugh. It's absolutely crazy business. Whoever's going to pay that. And Kovacic offers so much more than Declan Rice. He can control the game at the heart of midfield. He's young, he's versatile. There's a reason he was with Real Madrid and playing in Italy, and he's been so good for Croatia. It's an unbelievable piece of... I'm so gassed. Absolutely gassed. The sun is shining and Mateo Kovacic is a sky blue. Let's talk about what this means for Man City. Obviously, Ilkay Gundogan is a big doubt in terms of his long-term future at City. He wants a 2-year deal. I don't think the club want to give it to him for whatever reason. Maybe it changes after his incredible performances in the Champions League final and the FA Cup final. I'm going to sit down here. Bernardo Silva's going to leave. You think about Calvin Phillips as well. This is not a good sign for Calvin Phillips. There's no question about it. I think if you're Calvin Phillips, if you're signing another midfielder and you're barely getting a game, and John Stones is playing in midfield as well, it might be the end of Calvin Phillips. I see a world where Ilkay Gundogan stays and Kovacic comes in, and then Kovacic can come in and play with Ilkay Gundogan, and De Bruyne gets the rest that he probably needs, the rest that at his age, you can rotate Kovacic, Phil Foden can play in midfield, Bernardo Silva, if he stays, maybe Bernardo goes and then Phil Foden gets pushed into the wing position, and then you've got Kovacic, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri, with Calvin Phillips then being sold. That kind of composition makes a lot of sense for me, and Calvin Phillips didn't work. They're not light for light, but I think Kovacic can come in and play that kind of deeper lying playmaker position. We've seen Ilkay Gundogan do it for Man City. Not recently, he plays obviously a little bit higher up, but Kovacic can play anywhere. I'm so gassed with this transfer. He's elite, lads. He's world class. He's still young as well. He's got so many years ahead of him, and he could peak at Man City. He's already won the Champions League at Chelsea. He could be going on to win even more at Man City. It's a massive, massive moment, because the top sides, Ferguson, Mourinho, all these managers, they love to strengthen when you're on top. If you win a treble, there's an argument. You can just sit back and just say, well, let's keep the same squad. Let's maintain the status quo. But with City, whatever you say about the money, whatever you say about it, 30 million quid to strengthen, to improve. Whatever happens to Ilkay Gundogan happens. Kovacic is a replacement for Ilkay Gundogan or complements Ilkay Gundogan. It improves our squad massively. He's world class. It's as simple as that. We have to talk about Chelsea. If you're a Chelsea fan, we'd be very keen to see what you think in the comments down below, because it must be gut-wrenching. I mean, I remember when he came in on loan, he was the kind of one player that they could get over the line when there was that transfer embargo. Then you make it permanent, and then Chelsea, obviously, he was massive in that Champions League run-in. To let him go for £30 million, I know he had 1 year left on his contract. The fact they couldn't maybe, they didn't have the nous or the kind of wiggle room to give him a contract or entice him to stay, I think that's just gutting. How can you lose Mason Mount, Kovacic, Kante, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Jorginho on some level, and basically not bring in, who are they going to bring in? They brought in Enzo Fernandez, fine, but they need like 3 or 4. And you could have just kept Kovacic for very little. The kind of quality that Kovacic is, to sign him out of a club that's on a 3-year contract, 4-year contract, it'll cost another £100 million. Kovacic is close to a £100 million player if he had a 3-4 year deal left, and City would have paid that if it wasn't for the fact he was down to 1 year. So Chelsea The makeup of their squad is worrying. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be concerned that you're letting these quality players that have served the club. You know, Kovacic isn't Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I get him leaving, but come on, Kovacic, how are you letting him go to a rival as well, a Premier League rival? This isn't him going back to Italy, going to Spain. Come on, it's really poor. It shows a lack of planning from Chelsea, and it's almost chalk and cheese between the two clubs. You know, City show a lot of nous, they show a lot of forward planning, and then Chelsea just kind of fire hazard, just selling anyone they can just to get a bit of money in, because they spent £600 million in 2 transfer windows. It's absolutely embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. Let's just talk about City a little bit more, because I'm so excited about how he'll fit into the squad. I think Guardiola is looking for more control in games. I think he would have been he's a perfectionist, and we won the treble. What can you say? How can you improve? Well, I think he would have, if he wants to go again, I think he's going to give it another couple of years, Guardiola. If he wants to go again and try and win everything, the Club World Cup, another FA Cup, another Premier League, and maybe another Champions League while he's still at City, he's going to be looking at small opportunities that Inter Milan had where City did give the ball away. I think he'd be looking to try and get 3, 4, 5% extra, more possession in every game. And Kovacic is that kind of player. He can knock it around. He can be a deep line kind of maestro from the heart of a midfield. You can just imagine him just floating through midfield, knocking it around, first time touches. Oh, I love it. He's honestly one of my favourite players outside of City. Oh, I'm not even saying that. Even at Real Madrid, when he's kind of this up and coming kid and everyone was really excited about him, and he came to Chelsea, he did prove it. He was fantastic for Chelsea. So I could see a world where it's Rodri at the base of midfield. Let's say De Bruyne's injured. You could play Gundogan and Kovacic. You could play De Bruyne and Kovacic. You could play Kovacic, De Bruyne and Gundogan if Rodri was injured. That 3 would be unbelievable in terms of control of a midfield. And those 3 options are absolutely fantastic. The only small thing, not frustrated, but Phil Foden will be looking at that as another midfielder that's going to come in and potentially play in a position that he would like to long term in his career. He's obviously struggling to get minutes for England, and he's not maybe recognised outside the City fan base for his excellence and his world class ability. The reality is he came on for City in a Champions League final and he dominated midfield. You know, he'll be looking at it thinking Kovacic will play in that Ilkay Gundogan position if Ilkay Gundogan leaves, and then that's more and more kind of spaces left for lost for Phil Foden to come in and play in midfield. So that's the only small criticism of the move. Does this mean Phil Foden has to wait another couple of years to kind of finally play in that David Silva role that I think he thinks he can play in, but I think he can play in? Kovacic might come in and limit his options there, but apart from that, I'm loving life. The sun is shining. I'm getting a tan, and Kovacic is coming to Man City for £25 million. It's unbelievable. Just give him 30. He's going to hit all the add-ons. He's going to win a treble next season. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Would really appreciate it. I'll see you very, very soon.